Welcome to
Parsec Passion, a podcast about Disney Plus, Star Wars, television shows, and extravaganzas, whether it's The Mandalorian or the Book of Boba Fett, or kind of somewhere in between. My name's Bubba, and with me, as always, is someone who is fighting against the blade. It's Catfish. Catfish, how are you?
Oh, great, Bubba. It's always great to be with someone whose celebrity crush is Peli Motto.
Ooh, I lost out to a Jawa. That was a heartbreak number 10,000.
You weren't furry enough.
Oh, yeah, I know what's going on.
She digs the fur.
Hey guys, today we're breaking down Season 1, Episode 5, Chapter 5 of the Book of Boba Fett, Return of the Mandalorian. Or as it's also known, Guess Who's Coming to Djarin? That's a groaner. Catfish. We are now way more than halfway through.
Oh, yeah.
What is your rating for Chapter 5?
Well, Bubba, I was
Yeah.
a little torn here.
Torn.
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't know whether to give it a low rating because this show is called The Book of Boba Fett and we didn't see Boba Fett at all,
No.
or to give it a high rating because it was all about the Mandalorian, a character and show that I love much better than The Book of Boba Fett. So in the end, I gave it 10, what I like to give double Fs.
Wait, double Fs?
Yeah, far away Fett. The further away, the better. This reminded me so much how much I love the character and show The Mandalorian. And I was a man walking in the desert and I didn't know what I was missing. And this reminded me of it today. I loved the dog people.
Klatooians.
Yeah. I loved the frog toucan lady. I loved all of this. And most of all, I love The Mandalorian. Oh my God. I've missed you so much. So that was my rating. I gave it 10 out of 10. Thank
Wow.
you, Mando.
Yeah.
And also, who's going to be back on the Mando next season? It's going to be our pal Grogu in brand new chainmail fetish wear.
Well, 10 out of 10, that is a wonderfully high score. I'm
Yeah.
not quite that high, but as you
Okay.
know, all season long, the Book of Boba Fett, I've given every chapter a 7. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter 5.
No,
or
not
did
chapter
I
5.
give
Oh,
Chapter 5 a 7?
Well, you better not have, or I'm going to get you with some Beskar blade.
Oh, no. No, Catfish. I went up to 9, what I like to call double N's out of 10.
Oh, yeah, double ends.
Double N's is narrative nowhere. The Book of Boba Fett is in a narrative nowhere. We should be building. We've only got 2 more episodes left. We
Yeah.
should be building up to the big threat of the Pikes.
Forget
You
that.
listeners, tell me, are the Pikes a big threat? We don't even know a Pike with a name. Are they really the bad guy?
Well, they were mentioned in this episode. How bad they were.
Narrative nowhere, but 9 out of 10. Why? Because
Why?
I just enjoyed it. It's just fun. I just had a
Yep.
smile on my face. Months ago, online rumors called the Book of Boba Fett The Mandalorian Season 2.5. And that was a thing people said, and you're like, yeah, okay. Through 4 episodes, that didn't make a lick of sense. But now, here in Chapter 5, it makes total sense, but it also wonders, we are set up with Mando going to see his little buddy Grogu, like you're saying, Catfish. But we've also, I guess, got to deal with the Pikes, or are we going to end this on a cliffhanger in 2 episodes? What's going on?
I
You
am
know what?
all in favor of the marginalization of Boba Fett in the Book of Boba Fett.
Catfish, you say that, but guess what? This wasn't even really a Mando episode. Mandalorian episodes are famous for their mission of the week. Instead, this almost feels like an episode where stuff happens. But it's interesting stuff. It's fun stuff. It is a great setup for The Mandalorian Season 3, which is what it really feels like. And so 9 out of 10. If I have a smile on my face the whole time, I can't complain.
You know what it sort of feels like? It feels like what happens in every Bond movie is we start at the end of one story of him succeeding at something. So he did have a job in this episode. It's just he finished it in the first 3 minutes of the episode.
Right.
Instead of the end of the episode.
Right. So good. So listeners, we are very, very high. 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. We always want to say, we want to know what you think. Write to us on social media. Parsec Passion Podcast is part of the Double P Media Empire. So go to @DoublePHQ on Twitter and Instagram. That's the word double, single letter P for podcast, HQ for headquarters, @DoublePHQ on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook.com/DoublePHQ, YouTube. Leave those comments however you want to reach us. Go to our website, doublepmedia.com. Send us an email. We want to talk to you. And Catfish, would you believe that we've been putting out these polls on our Twitter hours after the episode comes out? So we're recording this hours after the episode's out. We've only received 51 votes on this Twitter poll. But of the 51 votes, we said, hey, grade chapter 5. 82% called the episode brilliant.
That's too
low. That is almost too low.
No, but that is great. That is the top for the season for sure.
Yeah. Now, just going down the poll, about 10% said the episode was good. About 6% said the episode was fair, like Flying Coach. And only 2%, I really think, just one single vote, said it was poor. Listeners, if you are on YouTube, and we know there aren't many numbers compared to podcast downloads, but if you are on YouTube, we put the same poll out every week. And on YouTube, it's only been out a short number of hours. And so we only have 10 votes on YouTube. But even YouTube, of the 10 votes, 70% said this episode was brilliant. People are so excited, Catfish.
I mean, it's funny because you might think people, no, I've been down on this show. Other people haven't. I'm surprised that maybe other people are recognizing what I thought, which is, you would think that more people would be upset that Boba was not in an episode of his show. But people were like, heck yeah, just like me, heck yeah.
Just give us something good. That's what the listeners are saying. Listeners, we don't want you to just answer the poll. Write us. Give us more feedback. Tell us what you loved about this episode that, according to these polls, you really, really loved. Catfish, before we dive into the episode, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. And one of the things I want to mention is for all of you wonderful people we like to call double L's.
Double L's?
Loyal listeners.
Oh,
we want to mention that, hey, this feed here, the Parsec Passion podcast feed, we do all these Star Wars shows. And this year, 2022, is going to be a big, big year for Star Wars shows. And I want to talk about some of the rumors. The rumors of the upcoming shows. We all know that Kenobi, Ewan McGregor, returning to his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi from the prequels, is going to be the next Star Wars show out. And if you can believe these online rumors, the people say the studio, meaning Disney and Lucasfilm, they're raving about Kenobi compared to the Book of Boba Fett, which apparently has been muted. They say Obi-Wan is going to be the biggest Star Wars event of the past few years and the next few years. That's how big they're describing this show.
Whoa,
Obi-Wan.
Holy cow.
And then maybe a show which has the least amount of buzz and/or a spinoff about a character from the Star Wars film Rogue One. The people online are saying Andor is going to be very dark. They're describing it as the Bourne Identity of Star Wars. Now, the Bourne Identity is really good and very adult, but that's good buzz for 2 upcoming shows in 2022.
I mean, I only have one thing to say to that is, yub.
Hey, listeners, we love talking to you specifically and to get you to join us on this ride. We are giving away T-shirts from the Book of Boba Fett all season long. All you have to do is send us a screenshot to prove that you are a subscriber. However you listen to us. Our friend Vinny down in Brazil sent us a screenshot showing he is subscribed to the podcast. And our good buddy @Patman23 on Twitter, he put out a tweet showing he uses the podcast app Overcast to subscribe. And so they are both entered to win. Listeners, once again, we want you to be eligible to win one of these T-shirts. We're going to be giving away in just 2 weeks. Send us those screenshots of you subscribe.
Oh, man. And I'm still waiting for someone to reach out from iHeartRadio. Let us know.
Once again, if you subscribe or you follow, whatever it is, whatever the terminology on your podcast app of choice, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Audible, Stitcher, Overcast, whatever it is, just send us a picture that you're subscribed. You'll be eligible to win. Oh,
but just like Disney, we're trying to reach out to as many subscribers as we can. And just like Disney, we've reduced the fee to subscribe to our podcast. Ours is $5.99 less than Disney.
But it is.
But Bubba, how are we on our trek to having 2,000 YouTube subscribers?
Well, we just have some podcasts that blow up on YouTube and some podcasts that don't get many people listening on YouTube. So we are still 140 followers, subscribers on YouTube away from 2,000. We want to reach 2,000. It's a small goal, especially on YouTube, but we currently are still 140 subscribers away. So if you listen to this on Overcast or any of those other podcast apps, please search for the Parsec Passion Podcast on YouTube and subscribe. We're trying to get there. We're trying to get there and make our little dent on that system.
The math is very simple. All we need is 2 people to tell 700 of their friends each, and we're done.
Heck yeah, it's science.
Oh, sorry, 70. I messed up the math.
You
so
did.
bad.
You did.
Look, see how much easier it is to tell only 70 of your friends than 700.
Help us get there, listeners.
Yeah, do it. Do it.
So, Catfish, it's so funny. Every time we talk about these episodes, we say, do you want to go to the Baka Tank Boba Dreams? Or do you want to go to the Double D, the Daimyo Drama? We don't have either this episode. Which do you want to cover first? The Boba Dreams or the Daimyo Drama?
Oh, you know what? Let's save those for last, since those were not my favorite of all the storylines on this show up to this point.
Okay, well, last week they teased us. How about this? They teased us very unsubtly, implying that the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, was going to be in this week's episode. And you knew he was going to be in this week's episode. Did you have any idea that he was going to own, that it was going to be his story?
No, they promised, and Bubba, they over-delivered. And for that, again, I thank them.
So, okay, what has been up with the Mando since we saw him at the end of Mandalorian Season 2? Well, at the beginning, we think he's just gone back to, now that his kid's away at boarding school, he can get back to work like he's supposed to. And he's bounty hunting, and he shows up in the meat locker. The Klatooians, boy, I find that hard to say. These aliens who are like the bulldog face. How would you describe these aliens?
Oh, yeah,
they're
absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. They're bulldog faces. I love it. They're celebrating. You know, they knew when they were writing this that the Georgia Bulldogs will win the national championship, defeating the evil Pike-like Alabama Tide. So they thought we'd celebrate them by having some bulldogs.
So Mando walks in. He's walking past all these people here in the meat locker, past these butchers, and he goes in to this room where obviously the boss. Hey, we've been dealing with a lot of gangster bosses all season long on the Book of Boba Fett. Here's another one. And this one, this may be the most me-like of all the gangster bounty hunters. Mando walks in. He's like, I'm looking for Cabo Baez. And then, not here. I think he is here. Mando puts down the bounty hunter puck that shows him. And Baez he pulls a real Bubba when he says, "That's not me. That doesn't look anything like me." I mean, come on.
Well, you know what? It could have been a speciesism.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on.
All bulldogs look the same.
Yeah, exactly. But only some are winners.
So Mando, he's kind of like, in case anybody hadn't watched the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, he's trying to get you up to speed quick by saying, what I tell to these bounty hunter people is, I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold.
Oh, yeah. No, it's great. But he set him up for it. He's like, well, why don't we discuss our options? And Mando's like, oh, I got a great line for this.
But hey, you got to give it up to this boss. He had all his minions around him. You know, Boba Fett is trying to build up his army. This guy had an army, it seemed like. They didn't last too long, but I want to give it up to that first Klatooian, the bulldog who bit Mando's hand. Hell yeah. Love it. It is fight time. We've seen Boba being nice, dealing with Tuskens in the desert. Mando is about to go to town on these dogs.
Oh, man, it is so good. You know what's really nice about him? He's like, hey, my beef's not with you. If you guys want to leave,
yeah,
go right ahead.
Right. Not enough follow that advice.
No, not enough. But not everybody got involved, which was delicious.
That was delicious. But how about this? So we get our first big fight of the episode. It's a big action piece. It's really good. I want to give it up. When Mando actually whips out the Darksaber and starts slicing and dicing.
Holy cow.
Oh, man, this is good. But I do have to wonder, you've got the whistling birds. Aren't they better? Especially if you're not trained with the Darksaber. Why not just fire the whistling birds and take these suckers out?
You know, it's funny because Already, the Whistling Birds, we talked about this several times with Mandalorian. It's like Superman. It's his
It
kill
is.
shot. He never really has to fight. And now he's got the Dark Blade, too, which, literally, when you use it on somebody, it's like a hot knife through butter. I mean, it is. This thing is not playing around. So already he is overpowered.
He is overpowered. We can't have him completely overpowered. So we show that you hold a dangerous weapon, you could mess yourself up too. And ooh,
Oh,
he
man.
slices or burns his own leg. Ouch!
That is horrible. But this is a huge mistake because when
Mistake.
my mom, this is an old tradition, when
Yeah.
she gives me new sharp knives, she always gives me pennies along with it. It's supposed to make it so you don't cut yourself. So Mando should have had somebody give him a penny to make sure that he wouldn't cut himself.
You know what? This is like Mando running with scissors. He's just totally sliced himself up.
I
But
mean, you
then
got to get used to it.
But then, hey, when I'm watching a family show on Disney Plus, the
Mhm.
one thing I'm really expecting is for fools to be sliced in half. Oh, Cabo Baez, half off. Oh, yeah, that's a
Oh,
good cut of
man.
meat there in the meat locker. Oh,
Yeah, I guess he's gonna bring him in cold then. That's what the final decision is. And then there's one it's so very Western. There's one chicken guy who's like, I got no issue, I'm out of here.
once again, this is Disney. It's not a good enough to cut a guy in half. I got to bring in and get my bounty. Well, I don't want to carry all half of him.
No.
He cuts off his head and sticks it in a bag,
Yeah,
man.
that's
And the
all
bag
right.
is dripping catfish. Oh, my
Um,
Lord.
but that's very wholesome.
Just the way Walt would have done him.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, my Lord.
And
So,
then
so
he walks out there, and
yeah,
all those people are looking at him. And here's the thing: he doesn't know whether they're angry or not. They have those
exactly right.
bulldog faces; you can't tell whether they're angry or not. They always look a little hostile. But he
Hmm.
says, "There's a pile of New Republic credits in there that I have no right to. If you do me the honor of letting me pass, you all can help yourselves to whatever you feel you deserve from your former employer." And so they go in there. I think they might end up they might end up killing each other for that money. But
Oh, no.
that was actually nice of them because those were the bad guys in there. These are just kind of the workers out here. I don't know. They may be lower thugs, but
Hmm.
he could have sliced and diced them too. So he did him a favor. Plus, man, why wouldn't he take any of that money?
Oh, my goodness gracious. Yeah,
This
why
moral
not take
code
any of that
is
money?
moral code is too much for me.
Catfish.
Hmm?
We get outside. So we're like, okay, we've been in this meat locker this whole time. We finally see Mando going to collect the bounty.
Mm-hmm.
And we see for a sci-fi show, let's be honest, this is really a fantasy show set in a sci-fi world, but for a
Mm-hmm.
sci-fi show, we finally see a bit of sci-fi. What did you think of this ring station? You don't see things like this in Star Wars very often.
No, it was incredibly cool. And the other thing is, we were talking last week about the mods, how I feel they're like too shiny for this world.
Hmm.
But I have to say, reminded again, Mandu's new outfit. I mean, he is looking sharp,
I
sharp.
know.
And this was all really cool. I mean, you noted that there's kind of a long one shot. There must be a cut in there somewhere because he goes in the elevator, he comes out, and he's in a different place, even though they stay on him the whole time. It's not until he comes out of the elevator, we see him a little bit, that they flash behind him. So maybe that's at the point in which they cut.
Yeah,
This
I
is
don't know
cool stuff.
because this show is filmed on this thing called the volume where everything's kind of a rear projector. I wonder if, you see him walking on the one level there's like a cityscape rear projected behind him. He gets in an elevator, a glass elevator. The rear projection just makes it look like he's gone up a level
Right,
and then goes
exactly.
out into a club. And then the same thing when he gets on it. This is technically fun. This is not only fun just because we're back with Mando. The show is kind of making it fun, real quickly into the episode where sometimes these Book of Boba Fett episodes take a while to get going. And Mando, speaking of the Vespa's mod gang back on
Yep.
Tatooine, where Mando goes to collect his bounty, it's like a high-class lounge. You feel like this is where those characters should be, is in a schwank place like this.
Oh yeah, and this is I tell you though, this parrot frog here
Yes,
um
this
is
Ishite.
yeah, she's really trying to hook him in. It's really funny because thinking the way the Mando is, this is actually kind of a good setup and fake out, right? Because this is at the point in a regular Mandalorian where he would get another job and he would
Yep.
take it, but he doesn't take it this time. So we get a switcheroo. All those times you were like, oh, he's always getting a job. This time he says no.
Right. And he drops the head down. Now, Catfish, I was wondering if you were going to mark the episode down from this. He does a thing which a lot of Star Wars characters do. He's like, where's my money? Where's my bunny? Somebody throws a closed sack on the table that jingles, and he assumes, okay, that must be the right amount. That's what I came for. Are
Well,
these
this
people
is what
so
I was
attuned
complaining about.
to noise?
This is not the last time that happens in this episode.
No, it
Bubba.
isn't. What's going on? Okay, I'm trying to think. Should we go to Chipotle tomorrow? And when somebody says, okay, yeah, your burrito's going to be $10.61, should I just drop a closed bag of money on the counter and then walk away? You think that'll be
Do
good?
it. Do it.
It's got to be coins, all quarters.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
see how
all
it
coins.
goes.
Ching. Oh, yeah, that sounds right. Oh, no, you overpaid, sir.
So Mando, he has injured himself with the Darksaber, and he goes
boy.
down, and then he flips on graffiti mode of his visor so he can see the symbols to where we find out his covert is. This is a season 1 Mandalorian callback. This isn't even a season 2. We're seeing characters we haven't seen since season 1 of The Mandalorian. He's walking down, he's climbing down this ladder awkwardly, and I'm thinking to myself, dude, you've got a jetpack. Just go down to where you want to go.
Well, but he's clumsy now, and he doesn't want to risk burning himself with the jetpack.
But who is down at the dark side of the ring world? It's the armorer. We last saw her kicking Stormtrooper butt with her tools back in the final episode of season 1, and she's made it. She's here. And then guess who else is here? That big commando type Mandalorian from season 1 who has the name of Paz Vizsla, and he applies back to spray to help heal Din. And guess what, Catfish? This is all that's made it out of Navarro, the kind of home base in season 1. These 3. Every other Mandalorian got by those stormtroopers. Ouch.
I mean, Mando at least says thanks for all your help, but I mean, Jesus, there are 3 of us now? Holy cow.
Right. This covert is going to be pretty soon covert for 1 because of the way they treat Mando at the end of this. So all those Mandalorians we saw living underground in Navarro on season 1 of The Mandalorian, by helping Din Djarin, by helping tangentially, by helping Grogu, they got, and this is all that's left. And the armorer is like, wait a minute, how'd you get injured? She doesn't say this by turning around. She's continuing to look out to space. So she's got her helmet on 360 vision.
Well, she hears him fall, and I guess she
Right.
just assumes like that he's hurt, because otherwise he's very light on his feet.
He is. Now, what I love is she wants to see the weapon that injured Mando. And she has this great line, which I really, really love. She's like, all this talk of the Empire, and they lasted less than 30 years. We Mandalorians had a dynasty which existed 10,000 years. So way to diss, humble brag, and diss the Empire. Love it, Armor. You go, girl.
I mean, if you count 3 people as existing, I guess. I mean, they're gonna have a hard time with their gene pool, just the 3 of them.
Well, I'm going to assume that their empire they're talking about might have ended back on the night of a certain number of tears.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. What the armorer isn't just great for exposition, she's also great at teasing what's going to happen in Mando season 3. So you ready for this one? She does a prophecy. Every great fantasy show needs a prophecy, and she says,
Love it.
It is said 1 warrior will defeat 20, and the multitudes will fall before it in this case being the Darksaber. If, however, the Darksaber is not won in combat and falls into the hands of the undeserving, it will be a curse unto the nation. Mandalore will be laid to waste, and its people scattered to the 4 winds. Woo.
She says 1 versus 20. I mean,
Right.
Mando's gone 1 versus 20 already. I mean, can we pump that number up now that he's got the Darksaber? Like 1 versus at least like 32? I mean, something like that.
Listen, in these COVID times, that's the only number of extras they can have on a set at one time. So in season 3, 1 warrior, Mando, will defeat 20 extras, and then the remaining Mandalorians will fall before him. That'll be interesting. She also, once again, this is just exposition and foreshadowing. She's talking about, hey, this dark saber we're talking about, it was forged 1,000 years ago by Tar Vizsla, who was both Mandalorian and Jedi.
Now, Bubba, if you had
Yeah.
a mix of Mandalorian and Jedi, would you call them Mandajedian or Jedalorian?
I actually like Jedalorian. I think
Okay.
I'd drop that. What about you? You agree? Jedalorian?
I think Jedalorian's got a nice feel to it.
True, but by mentioning, hey, this dark saber was forged 1,000 years ago by Tar Vizsla, how do you think old Paz Vizsla's feeling right about now? You know what I mean?
He feels like that's family property.
Exactly right. Now, there's also more foreshadowing, I think, of season 3. So neither Paz Vizsla nor the armorer believe Moff Gideon's going to be executed for his crimes. Of course, he got arrested at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, and she's sort of dissing the Mandalorian, like
Yep.
that was your job. This proves the old adage. If you want a job done right, do it yourself.
Right. She's like, let me tell you all the atrocities Moff Gideon did to our people. And you just turned him over to somebody else?
Yeah. Authorities.
Not so good. Wait, here's more. And this is a fun one. I think this will pay off in season 3 too, but I want to talk about why it's so fun. She says, the songs of eons past foretold of the mythosaur rising up to herald a new age of Mandalore. Sadly, it only exists in legends. Now, why that has two kind of meanings is, first, you've got a sentence of somebody talking about a creature called mythosaur and it existing in legends, myth and legends. But what's also great is Catfish. Just last week you were talking about, didn't Disney have a lot of canon that they said this isn't canon anymore? And I was like, yeah, that Disney said a lot of the books and comics books released before the purchase of Lucasfilm, they said those stories aren't canon anymore. They're only legend. And so here, a character on the show saying, yeah, those things that we talked about in the past, it exists only in legends. Woohoo, burn.
I mean, I just not knowing any of that, I still feel like Mythosaur is on the originality level of unobtainium. I mean,
Oh, man,
Mythosaur.
I would love to obtain some unobtainium.
Get it? It's unobtainable.
And hey, here's a new rule. Now, what do you think about this rule that we always find out things from the armor? She loves telling us things Mandalorians can and can't do. And apparently one of the things you can't do is you can't use this super strong steel, this Mandalorian steel of Beskar. It should only be used as armor, not a weapon. What do you think about that?
So many rules. Why not use it? Well, look, hey, let's be fair here.
Okay.
I mean, from his point of view, okay, he has the Darksaber. Now, if he didn't have the Darksaber, I'd be like, well, I'm going to think of this more as that's more of a guideline to which there's an exception, and I'm keeping my damn spear.
Yes, I'm with you. Now, she said the spear puts Mandalorians at risk because you could use it to kill other Mandalorians, but she doesn't like other Mandalorians. She doesn't like Mandalorians who take off their helmets, so she doesn't want a weapon against them.
No, I know. She has very strict rules, and as you're saying, she has kind of a strange sixth sense, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Okay, so hey, we can't have Beskar being used as a weapon, so we're going to smelt this down. We're going to smelt this down and make something else. What should we do with it, Din Djarin? Well, we should do something for the foundlings. All right, perfect. What? A specific foundling. Hello. He
Holy
wants something
cow.
for Grogu.
Oh, some double G.
Double G.
Grogu gear.
Gear up, Grogu. Now, what's going on here? Well, you know what? Hold on. Let's hold off on that because she's got more rules in just dissing. The character we met in The Mandalorian Season 2, Katie Sackhoff, is a character named Bo-Katan, and the armor starts dissing her. Bo-Katan is a cautionary tale. She claimed to rule Mandalore based on her name and the Darksaber. Her rule ended in tragedy. They lost their way, and we lost our world. Oh, diss.
I mean, now you can see why there's only 3 and soon to be 2 of them left. I mean, her rules are too hard to follow.
So, okay, we're going to get to this, not back to Tank, but a flashback at the smelting spot. But before we even do this, Catfish, she is dissing, and she's been doing this since season 1. She's been dissing Mandalorians who don't follow the way, don't follow the path, and specifically people who take off their helmets. And then we've met Bo-Katan. She wasn't perfect at all in season 2, but she did help take down Moff Gideon and all those stormtroopers. Which side are you on? Are you on Bo-Katan's side, who apparently her rule ended in tragedy? Or are you on the armorer? Hey, these guys have survived by wearing their helmets. Maybe that is the way. What do you think? How do you feel?
I'm making this very clear, and I've said this before.
Okay.
First of all, I'm on the Mandalorian side, but also I'm a little. I mean, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but first of all, I'm very upset with Patman because I hope he's happy because he was a very
Wait, our listener,
strict
Patman 23?
Patman. He was a very strict helmet on person. And so I hope he's happy because he's the one that caused the Mandalorian to be outcast.
Aw. So you're on.
I'm on the Mandalorian side. I'm against the armor. Bo-Katan. I'm more, a little bit more pro Bo-Katan, but also I believe there's power in numbers, and 2 is not a good number.
That is the way. That is the number. So, okay, let's talk about what I think was maybe some of the greatest effects in this show. Was I mentioned this flashback? We're going to see the Great Purge. Now, these, the Children of the Watch, they're known. The people who are helmets always on Mandalorians, they say they survived the Great Purge because they were on the moon of Concordia, which was a moon, or is a moon, I should say, of the planet Mandalore. And so they survived it. But we see the Empire pretty much destroy the entire planet in something called a Night of 1,000 Tears. Wonderful, wonderful explosions of these TIE bombers going across the planet, dropping bombs. You're seeing mushroom clouds everywhere. You're seeing Imperial droids like K2SO from Rogue One, or the Imperial probe droid from Empire Strikes Back, like hunting for survivors, you think, to kill them. Like this is a scene out of a Terminator movie. This was awesome to see.
It's amazing. There must have been hundreds of thousands of people who died in this.
Yeah, in the story of Mandalore, because they fought amongst themselves so much, the planet really was kind of ruined already, and they moved into these giant dome cities. And then in this flashback, you see one of the dome cities going down. Dang. Now, what do you think of that title, A Night of 1,000 Tears?
That's a lot of tears. I think a lot of people died.
No. It's 1,000 tears. So if you assume Mandalorians are humans, which they seem to be under the masks, humans have 2 eyes. So therefore, 1,000 tears, 500 people crying tops.
No, that math checks out more than my YouTube math. So I'm going to go with you. Only 500 people died.
No mass casualties.
No, 500 tops.
Hey, let's get back to it. The Mando has asked the armor to make something out of this Beskar spear for his buddy Grogu, for his tribe, right? They're on the Mudhorn tribe. And so what do you think the armor is making? Because the episode doesn't show us. We see little rings, but we don't know what the Beskar gift for Grogu is. What do you think?
Well, at first, I was hoping it was just like a little cup, so he can drink his stuff. Or I was thinking maybe a really strong fork to eat the frog eggs.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, terrible callback to Mandalorian Season 2.
But now I'm thinking that it's some sort of bondage wear for Grogu. It's got some it's going to be a bunch of rings, and they might have, on the side saved a couple rings so he could have nipple rings.
Children listening to this podcast with your parents, ask them about bondage. Terrible, Captain. How could you?
All right, and so I noticed later on, so we're guessing, I would have thought they could have gotten more out of it, but it looks like it's going to be just some like a chainmail headgear,
It did look small compared to the size of that spear. That's 100% correct. But maybe Grogu's growing, so you don't want to.
Oh, you think Grogu's a grower, not a shower?
Right. Well, I'm saying if you make him, if you make him a helmet for his head this size, he may outgrow it real quick. And so maybe chainmail or something like that is the best.
All right. Well, I was just wondering, they could have made a whole thing for him. Although, as we've seen from Grogu, I mean, Grogu can take care of himself. Let's be honest.
Oh, without question, he totally can. Hey, the armor explains that. Hey, dude, remember the Jedi? I'm not sure you should go see Grogu. The Jedi forego attachment. And then Din Djarin's like, but wait a minute, that's almost the opposite of us Mandalorians. We stick together. We say this is the way. It's not only attachment. It's like we're following a code almost of a cult. Maybe the
Also,
Jedis are a cult. Who knows?
Also, here's the thing, but
Yeah.
what if you said, "Hey, look, I made this lasagna for you to take to your sister," and then you're like, "But I don't think you should see your sister."
No.
Like, I'm getting mixed messages.
Well, if my sister eats the lasagna without removing her helmet, that's good.
I don't
Hey.
know. So then they do some training on the dark saber, and I
Yep.
think you need to sort of fill me in here if you have some information, because she's saying, I mean, it is called the dark saber, and essentially she's saying, give in to the saber,
All
like
right.
don't fight the saber. So I feel like maybe there's some history or something I'm missing on this saber.
No, the saber was introduced in these animated shows like the Clone Wars. And I've seen these episodes, but these kind of myths and these kind of prophecies and these other things to it, they feel new to the Mandalorian universe. Because in the animated show, once again, Bo Katan got it because somebody said, "Here, I want you to have this. You should rule." And Bo Katan was like, "Great." And she raises up the dark saber, and everybody's like, "Yay." And then, of course, that may have been the bad Mandalorians who removed their helmets who were like that. So who knows? But what we're seeing is exactly right, Catfish. You got to almost give in to the dark saber. She's telling him, listen, your body is strong, but your mind is distracted. And because your mind's distracted, it's like heavy to actually lift the dark saber up.
Right, it's getting worse, and I thought they did a good job of showing that it was just getting more difficult. Bubba, it's funny. This I had a question for you. Do you
Okay.
think that our boy who voices the Mandalorian,
Pedro Pascal, of course.
do you think there was talk about like him not liking to be in the armor and not showing his face, and that there were some episodes where he was actually on Broadway and wasn't in the armor at all? Do you think he was in the armor at all for this episode?
Ooh, that is a great question. These episodes were filmed a year ago. So these episodes, if we're in January of 2022, these episodes were filmed, probably some might have been filmed in December of 2020. That's how long these episodes
Wow.
take to film and make and stuff. And so I don't know. I would assume he wasn't in the outfit at all. So in season 1, he was almost never in that Mandalorian armor, filming it as an actor. Season 2, he was in it an awful lot, even in episodes where he wasn't removing his helmet. But then this year, while they were filming this, I know they were trying to get started up on his HBO show. Is it The Last of Us that he's going to be in?
Okay.
So I don't know, once again, because it was so long ago, if the timing lines up, but I wouldn't assume that this was Pedro Pascal in that Beskar armor as this was being filmed. I wouldn't think so.
All right. Well, anyway, she's giving him in a different language moves that she's going to
Right.
make, and then moves that she wants him to make. And yeah, and he gets a nice head bonk out of it, and then we come to the situation.
Yep.
Whoa, Paz Vizsla says maybe the dark blade should be in someone else's hands, and I love him at this point. Din Djarin's like, maybe. Hut-oh!
Oh no, Hutto is back. This is a real sign of trouble.
Hut-oh!
I was thinking when Paz Vizsla, who is a huge
Big guy. He's a big guy.
big dude. Even if you take that armor off, whoever the stunt performer is in there, big guy. I was just thinking, let's get ready to rumble. Okay, guys, I want a lead fight. No jetpacks. Vibroblade here, Darksaber there. What do you got, Jim?
I mean, I don't know why not the jetpacks. Come on, fight with the jetpacks. Flying is also a part of your skill set.
Right. Well, how about this? They're on this walkway where if they don't have their jetpacks, they could fall out into space.
Yeah, exactly.
What if though somebody with the dark saber falls out into space? Is that a victory? Do you claim, okay, he fell out into space, I win?
Yeah, that is a very good point.
Or how about this? Does it have to be a fight to the death? Because Paz Vizsla does take the dark saber from Din Djarin. He does claim it. Admittedly, that claim is only for a minute at the most before Din gets a vibroblade under his, at his throat, and he has to forfeit. But were you taking this as the fight had to be a fight to the death to say, hey, I'm taking this Darksaber?
I didn't think so because at that point I thought it was going to be a whoever won it fair and square, and then they go on. In other words,
Yeah.
like you challenge me for this, you win it. That doesn't change our relationship. It just changed who owns the dark blade. So I didn't think he was going to be. I mean, what happens next is truly puzzling to me, Bubba.
Well, okay. So Din has won this battle with this huge beast of a guy, but there is something going on. There's something, the armor can almost tell something's not right here. And so, kind of out of the blue, she asks Paz Vizsla, she says, "Have you ever removed your helmet?" Of course, he says no. "Has your helmet ever been taken off?" And Paz Vizsla, no. And then it's Din Djarin's turn to answer those questions. And so she says, "Have you ever removed your helmet?" Have you ever removed your helmet? By creed, you must vow.
I have.
Then you are a Mandalorian no more. Dang! This tribe of 3 has been gone down to a tribe of 2. Youch!
I mean, what I don't understand is, was there something about the way they fought that made her suspicious? Because if she had questions before, she could have asked before the fight and said to Mando, "Well, you're no longer a Mandalorian. You have to give up the dark saber." She could have not made Grogu's fetish wear. I mean, I just don't like where does this feels very convenient and non-motivated story-wise.
What if she's like, watching them fight, it looks like Din Djarin has had full visual. He has been in a situation where his vision hasn't been impaired by this giant helmet.
All of a sudden, his helmet seems too loose. It doesn't smell stinky enough. His armor.
So she kicks him out of the Children of the Watch for the sin of removing his helmet in front of others. Youch. Not cool,
man.
Armorer. Not cool.
This is all Patman's fault. Now, at this point, I thought, this is so good. Suck it, Patman. He's now been kicked out so he can take his helmet off. He doesn't need to wear his helmet all the time.
Of course.
But he wants to make up. He's like, what can I do? What can I do? I want 2 to be 3 again. I really need my pod. And she says, according to Creed, one may only be redeemed in the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore.
But the mines have all been destroyed.
This is the way.
So there she is. There we have yet another teaser for what's going to happen in season 3 of The Mandalorian. He's got to go back to this destroyed planet. He's got to go down into the mines, into the living waters, and be reborn. And I bet find a mythosaur in those living waters. That's what I'm saying.
I say screw that. I say grab Grogu, get armored up, and go hit some bars. Go down, get some money from Boba Fett, take care of business. I mean, but Bubba, sometimes the way blows, and that's just the way it is.
Well, let me tell you, when you talk about the way things blowing, one thing, Mando had to do something in this episode that I've had to do, and it really does blow.
What was that, Bubba?
He had to fly coach.
Oh, damn.
Flight 1020, nonstop to Tatooine. Mando is going on a commercial flight. Man, he's fallen so far since the Razor Crest got blown up real good.
Holy cow.
And he has to remove all his weapons before he can get on his flight. Oh, my goodness.
Holy cow. It's a good thing that Sweet Gav isn't watching this show anymore because
wait, our loyal listener, Sweet Gav?
Sweet Gav. He said he wasn't going to listen anymore because it's woke. And what is more woke than telling someone they can't use their religious exemption to get out of doing something?
Right. That's my sympathy. My sympathy animal needs to come on the plane with me as well as my sympathy, whistling birds. I need them on the plane too.
Exactly. It is a good thing they had a big box for his stuff.
Right.
It took him forever to unpack.
But he, once again, flying coach, having to check all this luggage. Mando, I feel your pain. Now he did have a row to himself.
Yeah.
But just like when you're on a flight, what happens? There's a kid making noise, causing trouble right next to you. So in front of him, there's a Rhodian alien there, the kind of that we saw in A New Hope as Greedo. And he's, trying to say hi, trying to look at this person who's in his Beskar armor.
I mean, he's just lucky he has no one in his row. I mean, he is in the Star Wars version of Spirit Airlines.
Oh, no. There goes our sponsorship from Spirit Airlines. And I love those cookies so much. So hey, they get to Tatooine, and we begin to think, or at least I began to think, okay, we've spent like 20 minutes with Mando. Now he's on Tatooine. He'll run into Boba Fett and Fennec Shand. We'll get on with it. But no, heck, we got to everything has to happen. Everything has to go in place. So he has to pick up his checked luggage. And that means he has to go through it, make sure everything's in there. There was a slight fear, maybe from on my end, that, well, what if the Darksaber's not in there? But no, he's got to open it up, and he's got to, okay, there are my bullets. There's my Darksaber. Here's my blaster. Here's my cable. I've got to check and make sure.
Skip ahead, Bubba.
Wait, here's my little rocket set I fire.
Okay.
Here's my.
Skip ahead. Skip ahead.
Okay. All right. So then he goes to see his good friend Peli Motto.
Oh, God, skip ahead again.
What? Catfish. We can't do that. It's Amy Sedaris as this character we've seen in season 1 and season 2 of The Mandalorian. And she had a small cameo earlier in the Book of Boba Fett. She's here in Mos Eisley at her shop. And she's got another droid. She's got so many fun, wacky droids. And her droid BD, which is a droid based on a character in the video game Jedi Fallen Order, and it's being attacked by a womp rat. Hoo.
Holy cow!
And then she starts getting attacked by a womp rat when saves her? And she says what should have been the episode's title. Hey, look, everyone, it's Mando.
Well, that is a better title than I Am Boba Fett, which could have been the title of the last episode.
Every episode, all first 4. I Am Boba Fett. I should point out, while she's trying to get these droids to go, beat up this womp rat that is there in her hangar, the droids are all scared. It's real fun. They're all chicken and hiding, and they don't want to go. And she's looking at them. She's like, come on, go, go, go. What is this, a democracy all of a sudden?
Oh, man. This was funny bits, and I actually enjoyed Peli Motto in this episode more than I've enjoyed the character in the past. I mean, I couldn't have killed Mando to come in a few minutes later after she'd already been eaten, but I did enjoy her more in this episode.
Terrible, terrible. Why is Mando there? Why did Mando take this commercial flight back to Tatooine and Mos Eisley? Well,
Peli said, I got a ship for you. It's going to be good.
I got a ship for you. It's a great ship. It's the exact one you asked for. Is it a Razor Crest? Well, so it's not exactly the one you asked for. It's not the one you asked for at all, but come look at this thing.
Oh, boy.
And what does she do? Listeners, if you watch this on YouTube, you know that behind me this whole time, I've had the yellow N1 starfighter from Naboo from the Phantom Menace here in my shot the whole time. And I have it just because I had this toy back when Phantom Menace came out, but also because there were rumors that this spaceship was going to be in what we thought was going to be the 3rd season of Mandalorian. No, it's here. She is pulling out a N1 Naboo starfighter from the Phantom Menace, the kind that little Anakin Skywalker flew back in that film. But even then, when she's like, ooh, I got this spaceship for you, it is a hunk of junk. This is a piece of trash.
I mean, it is not just a piece of trash, which, again, we're going to go through a montage. And once again, somehow, even though he's paying an unspecified amount, a bag of coins for this
Republic
work,
credits,
he has to help out. But, Bubba, let's remember the Razor Crest. I mean, comfy, right? You set it on autopilot. You go back. You kick. You just relax.
It had a bathroom, a refresher.
There's a place to put the people that you're capturing. You can bring them in hot. You can bring them in warm. But with this ship, there's no bathroom. There's no place to sleep. There's no place to bring in anybody hot. You got to bring them in all cold because all you have is a cramped quarters and then a little empty space to put head and maybe something else. Yeah. But this is not a good replace. This is good to like go from one side of the planet to the other. Every time he goes from one planet to another, he's gonna get out and he's gonna have to like exercise for 30 minutes to get the blood moving back in his legs.
Man, you know how there are those massage parlors in some airports? That's every time he goes into a spaceport, he's gonna pull himself out of this darn thing. And it's even worse because has to wear all this Beskar armor. So it's not even, talk about cramped in there.
Holy cow. That is not comfortable at all. So he is like, no freaking way. But she pulls the old car salesman bit. She's like, let me tell you more about this while my friends are getting a copy. My manager's getting a copy of her driver's license. So she sells them on it.
Right. She says, look at these parts. They're brand new. Well, or or Jawa new, meaning she's just having the Jawas give her parts and she's claiming they're brand new. And then, okay, Catfish,
Yep.
in a sign that not just cutting somebody in half and decapitating their corpse on a Disney show for families, we find out that Peli Motto has been in a relationship with a Jawa.
Oh,
And
man.
I thought to myself, just another example of Jawas picking up trash.
Oh, slam.
That's terrible. Apologies. That is a bad, tasteless joke. Do not
What is,
unsubscribe.
what is
We're being silly.
what is so great is that the Jawas are talking about business, and then he says something, and she says it's so great, even though we don't know what they've said. We can infer it because she said, "Mo, I'm sorry, I'm working on me right now." So obviously the Jawas are hitting on her, and Peli Motto is a furry. She
Right. She
loves
said
the fur.
Jawas are furry. Did you have any idea that Jawas were furry, Catfish?
I don't even want to contemplate that. The only thing I know is I was luckily distracted from thinking about Jawas and Peli Motto by seeing another trash can droid, Bubba.
Hey,
Oh
our
my
Gonk
God.
droid. Our
They're
Gonk droid's getting
everywhere.
us some power. That's
They
great.
are everywhere.
And we have a montage, as you said. Here's another montage. We had the training montage on the dark saber. Now we've got the montage as we put this ship together. And this, listeners, we love to talk about deep cuts. So this is another preposterously deep cut.
I love it.
So back in Star Wars: A New Hope, released in 1977, Luke, Han, Chewie, and Princess Leia, they're being crushed in the Death Star's trash compactor. And so you see this Han hold up this long pipe to try to keep the walls from coming together and crushing them. And so suddenly, man, Jon Favreau has too much time on his hands. He decides to identify what this pipe was that Han was holding by saying it's a part Mando desperately needs for his ship, some sort of cryogenic density part or pipe. And he's like, how did the Jawas get this? And she's like, well, the Jawas stole it from underneath a Pike Spice Runner ship. Good work, Jawas. If you're not afraid to steal from the Pikes, how dangerous can they really be? Good work.
Holy cow. I mean, these guys will do anything. They'll steal anything and
Love
they
'em.
will have sex with
No,
it.
stop it. Good work, Jawas. Good work.
Love it.
So this montage apparently goes overnight. We see the equivalent of a rooster lizard crowing and cockadoodling as the twin suns rise there on Mos Eisley.
And then, Bubba, I may have overinterpreted this, but I watched it like 3 times, and I'm pretty sure then the lizard checks under its wing for underarm odor.
That's what you do, man. You know, first thing you wake up is you're like,
Check
hey,
it
do I
out.
need some Old Spice under there? What's going on?
I love it.
Now, this, if you remember the N1 yellow Naboo starfighter from the Phantom Menace, it had a place for an astromech droid, aka an R2 unit, like R2D2 in the Phantom Menace was riding in there. If you remember back in season 1, Mando didn't like droids. He didn't like droids at all. Of course, by the end of season 1, he had met IG-11, and that had kind of flipped around on him. But Peli doesn't know this, so she actually rips out the part where the R2 unit would go. And so now there's another little kind of space in the ship for storage, I suppose, and or maybe that's where Grogu could ride. If Grogu and Mando get back together, Grogu can have his own little compartment in the spaceship.
You know, Bubba, here's my only concern with this custom ship that has all these custom parts.
Right.
I mean, basically, he's tied to Peli Motto for the rest of his life. She's the only one who can fix it. She's the
Yep.
only one who knows how it works. And, you
Mhm.
know, I have had cars that I was always worried whether they would start up. It's very stressful, Bubba. It's better to have, you know, something that's reliable that every mechanic can fix. What he needs is the Toyota Corolla of spaceships.
It's got a back seat where you can put prisoners, of course. Sure, let's go. But he doesn't get it. But hey, we've spent a time doing a montage, so we got to see this ship fly.
Let's do it.
Mando takes off. You know, this thing really books. We always mock the mod scooter chase for moving pretty slow. He is shooting through the deserts of Tatooine. He flies through famed Beggar's Canyon, and he seems to be on the same course that the pod race took in Phantom Menace because he's passing some of the same rock outcroppings. And this ship, it flies over a womp rat, and so Mando's loving it.
Yeah, this ship is as smooth as a Gonk's Scompjack, which a reference I totally got.
Good point. Yes, you did. A Gonks Scomp Jack.
Yeah,
Well, the one thing I know about those is they're very smooth.
yeah, absolutely.
And then, hey, he's flown it through the atmosphere. He's
Right,
flown
he
it
already did the Top Gun buzzing of the tower.
exactly right. So he decides to fly up into space, and he does a flyby of the starship. And who's there on the starship again? The little Rhodian kid
Very
who gets
funny.
to
I love
see
this
him.
bit. I love this bit.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy, though, once
When
you're
you're
out
going
there,
fast, what
you
happens?
know, in space, nobody can hear you scream, but the police will still find you if you're speeding
Yep.
somehow.
The old Popo comes up, and Mando has literally been in the ship, what, 5 minutes, and he's already getting pulled over
Holy
by
cow.
two X-Wing fighters. And it's good old Paul Sun Hyung Lee, who plays the X-Wing pilot Carson Teva. You've seen him in season 2, an awful lot of The Mandalorian. And then his partner this time is a character known as Lieutenant Reed, who's played by the actor Max Lloyd Jones, who is famed in the Mandalorian universe for what? Actor Max Lloyd Jones? Well, at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, who showed up but Luke Skywalker?
Spoiler alert.
Luke Skywalker showed up. They do a deep fake of Luke's face, young Mark Hamill's face on this character, but the body and all the movements were this actor, Max Lloyd Jones. So they said, hey, you did a great job being a body double for young Luke Skywalker. Now we'll give you a part where we can see your face and we can actually hear you talk.
Holy cow. You know what? I mean, he was a good body double, but he would be a pretty good face double too. He looks a lot like Mark
Yeah,
Hamill, young
he
Mark
does.
Hamill. That's amazing. They ask Mando, hey, give us your license and registration, please.
Right.
And he's like, sorry, I don't have my license yet. And then, but here's my registration. And then they're like, well, your VIN number on your machine on your car doesn't match the VIN number on your registration. So he's like, well, I need to get a rebuilt title because I build it from other things. They hassle him now. Go back to this again. It's so funny because I think I had a problem with this before, but it's just the last time he got hit up by Carson
he got
Teva. And
yeah.
also, like Carson Teva, like he's on his side. He's like trying to say, "Are you the person who did this?" Because basically, if you are, from our point of view, we know like, oh, he's into this. But Mando will never fess up to anything, and he
No.
opens up that button and he hits the NOS switch, just like they do in Fast and Furious. And like I always say, he gone.
He's gone. And apparently, even a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, cops hated doing paperwork. So
Dan love donut. Yep.
rather than report, hey, there's this illegal ship flying around, unregistered ship flying around, they're just like, to hell with it. Let's pretend we didn't see this.
Oh my God. You know what we forgot to mention, by the way,
What?
it's coming up
Let's hear it.
again. But before we hit it again, Peli Motto didn't look in the bag either.
I could kind of tell you were going that way, Catfish, and I almost
Yeah.
feel like next time Mando gets pulled over by these X-wing cops,
Yeah.
he should just like shoot a bag out of indiscriminate
Guys,
Republic credits to
in
see.
a little capsule. And what they
Right.
should do is on the way over, they should be like, all right, sir, nothing to see here. Move along. Even before they've gotten it on their ship. So, oh, yeah.
He
So
goes back down. He
he
goes
goes
back
back down
down
and he is very excited. Pelimoto's like, how is it? And he's like, wizard.
Oh my Lord, Catfish! Did you remember that back in the Phantom Menace, Anakin would say "wizard" as like something real cool? Like he'd say "wizard." Do you remember that's what they're pulling from?
I've almost completely successfully erased the entirety of the Phantom Menace from my head, so I don't know that. But what I do know is,
Yeah.
thank God this was Fett free, but it was not Fennec free. Fennec
No.
shows up. Peli's like, I took care of this. Fennec's gone, and Fennec just shows up, jumps down from a bunch of boxes, reminding me what you said about the actress's age last time. And
Yeah,
I was
she's
like, was
58.
this a
Yeah.
body double? Holy cow, I would not want to do that. And oh my God, Fennec, what does she do? She tries to enlist Mando, hands him up, throws him a bag, and he's like, yep, this is good.
Right. No, but how about this? She throws him a bag of cans. She says, hey, listen, a bag of coins, excuse me. She's like, listen, we need some muscle. We don't need a bounty. We need some muscle.
Right.
And Mando's like, this is for Boba Fett. Here, I'll do it on the house. And he throws the bag back. He didn't even look at to see how much he could have made.
Because he knew that there was junk in there. Again, his moral code is completely foreign to me. But since he's doing it for free, he has a stipulation.
What's
He
that?
wants to go see his boy Grogu first. Now, can you explain why he wants to see Grogu? But based on this episode, I mean, he's got some stuff for him, but we knew that they had to get him back together, but they need to come up with a good reason, right? Like,
Well, I think the
gave up
reason
Grogu.
Catfish is he gave up Grogu, but it broke him. He was a loner his whole life, but he built an attachment to this little guy, and now he's tough. He's afraid. He's a parent. Even if you send your kid away to boarding school, you always want to hear from them. You want to check in. You want to see them. They better come home at Thanksgiving or Christmas. And so even though we've got a gang war with the Pikes about to hit, he's got to go see his kid. What do you think this means for next week's episode? Does this mean that we're still going to spend some time with Mando as he goes to drop off this chainmail?
Mando, I hope so. I hope let's get the band back together. Mando and Grogu, two great tastes that taste great together.
Listen, I think they're great, but like I've said, you've got to build up this war. We've got Kersantan, we've got Fennec Shand, we've got Boba, we've got a giant rancor. We need to set this place straight.
I'm completely fine with completely abandoning the rest of the Boba Fett storyline that doesn't involve Mandalorian.
Hey, listeners, we've been talking an awful lot, giving you our opinions. We want to know your opinions. Reach out to us. Once again, I'm going to keep saying it on social media. You can tell us how you felt about Chapter 5, where you think we're going in Chapter 6 and 7 of the Book of Boba Fett. We're at Double PHQ on Twitter and Instagram. The word double, a single P for podcast, HQ for headquarters, at Double PHQ on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.com/Double PHQ. If you're on YouTube, and we know not many people are clicking on the YouTube link, but please give us a comment. We love talking back to listeners. We love hearing what you think. We know what we think because we've just spent all this time talking about it. We want to know what you think.
I mean, this is just a great episode. Bring it to us. All right, Bubba, we've got just a few things left before we are out of here. And first of them is the Bounty Hunter Guild battle. Who wins the puck? And that is the debate, tonight's debate for this episode. Bubba, what's worse, the night of 1,000 tears or the day of 1,000 sunburns?
Oh, man. Well, Boba, we know Boba lived through the day of 1,000 sunburns. All right, so let's talk this through. And wait, do you have a side you want? Like, I'll be willing to give up a side in this Bounty Hunter Guild debate if you have one over the other, because I think they're both pretty terrible.
Why don't you argue the side of the night of 1,000 tears?
Okay, all right. So what we saw in this flashback looked like hell. Looked like something you couldn't survive. No matter how bad a sunburn is, that's better than a mushroom cloud blowing up your entire city that you live on this uninhabitable planet of Mandalore. I think what makes it worse is, what do we all want at night? We want a good night's sleep. But how can you sleep through tears? It's very difficult. I put eye drops in my eyes each night so that I can feel what that feels like. And it's tough. It's the worst. I wake up and my pillow's wet from teardrops. So I'm saying, because of that, I think a night of 1,000 tears. I mean, think about that. That's not just one. That's not just two. It's not just three. It's not just four.
Keep going.
Dang it. Skip ahead.
Skip ahead.
It's fine. Okay. It's 1,000 friggin' tears. So I'm saying a night of 1,000 tears is worse.
Okay. All right. Well, listen.
Okay.
All right. I mean, a night of 1,000 tears is pretty bad, but I mean, you're done, right? You have the night, you cry, everyone's tears dry, you move on with your lives. The people who are no longer with them are not crying anymore. They're no longer doing anything. But let me tell you something. As someone who lived in Hawaii, Bubba, a sunburn, holy cow. that will go on and on and on for at least a week. A sunburn goes on, and at the end of it, after all the scratching and the pain, the unbearable, you can't even sleep at night. So I mean,
Yeah.
you can't even have tears on your pillow.
No, come on.
And then your skin peels off in a grotesque display. So
There's nothing.
clearly,
No, 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 no.
the day of a
Sunburn,
thousand sunburns are worse.
sunburn, big deal. Do you understand what aloe vera is? You
Yeah, I
just
do.
rub.
And you wake up in the middle of the night and have to put it on, and it's just never enough. And your clothes stick to it. Your clothes stick to it, and then you pull your clothes off because your clothes are stuck to it, and it burns even more. It's horrible. All right, well,
No, I don't know.
obviously I won this one, but let's
What?
hear what the audience has to say. Please vote. We will put a question up. What's worse, the night of 1,000 tears or the day of 1,000 sunburns? Our next bit up is the Mandolicious line of the episode. Oh my goodness, Mando is back, and
He is.
therefore so are the quips. I still have two categories. I've got two badass and three funny bits. So the first badass one is a Mandalorian at the beginning of the episode. I'm going to give the rest of you the opportunity to walk out that door.
That's pretty
And then
badass.
Boz says, let's discuss our options. And Mando gives him his favorite line as far as options. I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold. There's three funny bits. The guy checking out Mando in the elevator.
Man.
Mando looks at him, and the guy looks away quick. I'm not looking at you. And when the last two are Peli Motto, Peli Motto says this is a classic, bangs the spaceship, and obviously something falls off of it.
Oh man, that is a classic joke. That's very classic.
And then when the Jawas are hitting on her and she says, I'm working on me right now. Funny because you don't even get the setup and you have to infer the setup to it. So, Bubba, what is your, or Mandalicious, one of those, or go off the board with one of your own?
No, I think because it was so clever. In Peli Motto, I'll fess up, I have had trouble with her character in the past too.
Me too.
But I really enjoyed her in this episode.
Mhm.
And I'm working on me right now. That was the one for me. That was the Mandalicious line of the episode for me.
Bubba, you know we like to sort of have different opinions here, but tonight it is unanimous. I'm working
wow.
on me right now. So good. All right, well, we've got a few things left. First of all, let's go to Double M.
Wait, Double M?
Yeah, Matt Murdock's musical mastery. So it's really quadruple M, his musical analysis of tonight's episode.
And you can find Matt on Twitter at Musical Concepts. So, hey, Matt, what'd you think of Chapter 5?
Hello to all of my fellow bounty hunters out there, and Bubba and Catfish. Hope you are well. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I certainly felt hit over the head with just about every highlight from seasons 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian during this episode. But those aren't the kinds of things that you want to hear from me. Those are the kinds of things you want to hear from Bubba and Catfish, and they may not even agree with me. That's fine. Either way, I'm here to talk about how Joe Shirley included Ludwig's Mandalorian theme in this episode, because it was a Boba Fett show, but it was a completely Mando episode, right? And so there were some unique ways that Shirley combined the music that we know from this show with the music that we know from The Mandalorian. And I thought it was very interesting. One of the first instances of that was actually when we saw the Boba Fett title that comes up, Book of Boba Fett, when the big title comes up and then the title of the episode. Did you notice that Joe Shirley took the motif that we associate with the Boba Fett theme and he added the Mandalorian harmony? Here's what I mean. Normally we hear, when those title credits come up, we hear the music like this. And just as a reminder, here's what the Mandalorian title credits sound like. Now, the way that Joe Shirley combined these two was he took that melodic motive that we know from the Boba Fett theme, but he used the harmony from the Mandalorian theme, this part. So when you take that bottom part and you combine it with the Boba Fett Motive, you get this. Which is exactly what we heard when that big title screen and the episode title came up near the beginning of the episode, somewhere around the 6-minute mark, I think. Right after that, when we're getting the establishing shot of the ring, we actually hear the Mandalorian melody being played, but it's being used in a rhythm that is similar to the Boba Fett theme rhythm. It was a very beautiful piece. It sounded somewhat like this. I can't really duplicate it completely on the piano, but it sounded like this. Notice how that last phrase seems like it almost comes in a little bit too fast? That's exactly what happens with the mixed meter of the Boba Fett theme. And so that's how he incorporated that rhythmically. And there were, of course, a lot of instances where you just heard the Mandalorian theme itself as well. I think once at the 25-minute mark or somewhere around in there. And then my favorite version, which came much later in the episode, let's see, somewhere around the 39.5-minute mark, like 39:27 or something like that, you get this beautiful version of the Mandalorian theme done with the cello, with these kind of spiky chords all around it. There was horns holding a sustain with it, and then these little jabs of chords with some kind of keyboard-sounding instrument on top of it. That was my particular favorite version of the Mando theme in this episode, and I can't approximate with the horns holding out, but essentially a main part of it sounded like this. So, if you're into The Mandalorian, if you missed The Mandalorian, you certainly got your dose of it this episode, not just in the character, but also in the music. I'll turn it back over to Bubba and Catfish now.
Oh, now see, that's interesting that they, when he was talking about how they combined the two themes, which might make you think that Boba Fett was going to show up at all tonight, but he didn't.
Nah.
So, at least the themes were evocative of Boba Fett tonight.
That's true. There was a part of me that when the end credits started, I got confused. I was like, is this the Book of Boba Fett music end credits or the Mandalorian end credit music? But no, it was the Book of Boba Fett end credit music. Thank you for that, Matt, at Musical Concepts on Twitter. Whew. Well, hey, once again, we've given you our thoughts, but the most important thoughts are always yours. Catfish, what feedback do we have this week?
All right. Well, our good old friend who is sending us awesome memes, Nathan Savka, says, I can't wait for this to happen. And he sent us a nice image. It's of Clifford, but Clifford the big red rancor. And it's
man.
Boba Fett holding on to Clifford. That is so good.
You know, Nathan, we are going to see that. I cannot wait. Hey, we got other feedback on our Facebook page. Once again, facebook.com/PHQ. And this is from Laura. Laura wrote, Hi, Bubba. Hi, Catfish. It is so good to be back with you for the Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, Laura McMillian. We love her.
Laura wrote, I'm so happy to have a new Star Wars show, especially with Boba Fett, and that for her, every episode is a 10 out of 10. Woo.
All right.
Well, do you think she's going to give this one 11 because this one's so fun?
I don't know. Maybe because she said especially with Boba Fett, it wasn't him. Maybe she'll go down to 9.95.
Oh, that'd be great. Laura continued, I truly like the double F.
Double F?
The Fett flashback. All right, let's try this again one time.
Uh-huh.
I truly like the double F.
Double F?
The thing I said earlier, the Fett flashback portions with Boba and the Tuskens, as much, if not more, than the current timeline with Boba establishing himself as the new daimyo. I also think the next 3 weeks, so she sent this before this episode, she said are going to be awesome.
Well, she's right about week 1.
Yeah, and hey, she said she wanted to get in on that discussion we had last week, Catfish, about Boba Fett, his ship, and it's always been known as the Slave One, but now it's the Fire Spray. And so she said, I'm good with Fire Spray. In my eyes, they have not changed the name of the ship from Slave One. They're simply calling it by its model designation, like Mando calling his ship the Razor Crest. And she said, besides, Fire Spray is a pretty cool name. Thanks you for all the smiles and laughs. Your podcast is a 10 out of 10. Woohoo.
Yeah.
Woo, thank you so much.
All right.
We
We got some feedback from Twitter. Yep. First from Chapter 4, Camille at Harley Camille says, before listening to the podcast, I was thinking about how Fennec helped Omega in the Bad Batch. She could be like, hey, I know your clone sister. Faced with tears of joy.
Aww.
And Ministro das Alusiones Interiores. Oh, man, I butchered that so bad.
That's our buddy Vinny.
Yeah. Says, hoping for more Black Wookiee love. We got to have it. All right. Yeah. And so from Chapter 5 feedback, we got our buddy Matt Murdock. You know, he's doing all the musical feedback, and I know he was super excited about tonight's episode, so he gave us some. He said they brought the whole 2 seasons of highlights into a single episode. 47 billion mentions of Razor Crest.
Oh, man.
The crazy mechanic, the Mandalorian survivors, making sure we knew he was missing Grogu. I guess if there's a chance someone had seen the first 2 seasons, someone might need an introduction to him, but warm or cold too? This wasn't sneaky Easter eggs for dedicated fans. It was, here's all of Mando's famous lines.
Wow.
A Rhodian kid is a stand-in for Grogu, and that crazy mechanic, X-Wing traffic cops, and Jawas. And let's do some character development there where Mando learns to tolerate Jawas. Huh. Hell, let's even add the harmony from the Mandalorian theme to the Boba motif during the first title, just so everyone gets hit over the head with the most overt of references. Woo, man. Oh,
man,
wait.
He must hate this episode.
Yeah, and he said, I still like the episode, but man, I said, seen that, been there. Oh, yeah, here's where this will happen so many times. Ooh, you know what? Man. Matt Murdock. Well, I'm going to call him Triple M tonight.
Triple M?
Yeah, Mopey Matt Murdock.
He's bringing the heat. I love it.
So, hey. Wrong. We loved it.
We loved it, but Matt had trouble with it. And listeners, once again, if you have any trouble with anything we say, trouble with the episode, you love the episode that maybe we have trouble with, please write us. This is an interactive thing at PHQ. We got one final bit of feedback from somebody who I keep mentioning. It's our good buddy at Patman23 on Twitter. And this was about Chapter 5. He said, I enjoyed watching Bobo's feet tonight, which is how he refers to it because somebody asked him about it and they kind of messed up the name Boba Fett. And he said he enjoyed Chapter 5. No further comments will be made. He's looking forward to the next Parsec Passion podcast by PHQ, where they're covering every episode of the Double H.
Double H.
Helmeted Hellion.
Woo. You see that? You see that? You see that? He's already what I like to call Double P.
Wait, Double P?
Yeah, pre-poking me. You know how I feel about helmet on, helmet off. You know what? Mando's going to learn to love living without the helmet.
He sure will. He sure will. Listeners, we want you to be part of this feedback. We want you to be eligible to win these T-shirts we're going to be mailing out in just 2 weeks to anybody who's kind enough to follow or subscribe to our podcast. Once again, send those screenshots of you following or subscribe to the podcast to us. You can send it to us on Twitter at PHQ, on Instagram at PHQ, Facebook.com/PHQ, YouTube. It's not easy. In fact, I'm not sure there is a way on YouTube to drop a screen grab into the YouTube comments. But hey, go to our website, doublepmedia.com. There's an email there. Send it to us. We want you to be eligible to win. And this is it, Catfish. We only have 2 more weeks. This episode has me really excited for where we're going to go in these final 2 episodes. How about you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it just sparked my joy again for the Mandalorian. I love the character. I can't wait for him and his buddy Grogu to get back together. And
what if the Rancor, or what if Black Chrysanthemum eats Grogu?
Oh my God. This is what I'm hoping. Yes.
Oh, no. Here we go.
Let's have a 3rd member. And now there are only 3: Grogu, my boy Black K, and the Mandalorian. Let's hit the road.
Hey, for everybody here at Double P Media, my name's Bubba. You can find me on Twitter at FittenTrim. That's FITTENTRIM at FittenTrim on Twitter.
And I am Catfish. You can hit me up at CJGman67, your 67th favorite CJG man. And we will talk to you next week for the 6th episode on
Parsec Passion Podcast. Peli come join me for a 3-way with this Java.
Oh my God, no. Do you imagine how much she would dig Black K? Holy
no.
cow.
Oh,
Holy
no.
cow.
We're
A
got a
three-way
new
with a
ship.
Java and Black
New
K.
ship. Oh, no, we should need to come up with their ship names. What are their ship names for Peli and the Jawas? The
Oh my God.
Pawas?
Oh, Pawas.
Jellies? All right, but then how about a ship name for Peli and Black K?
Oh man.
Puss-
How about Kasartmo?
oh,
Kasartmoto?